Hi everyone, I'm Josh and welcome to Josh Wright Piano TV. I want to talk about a concept today that freaks a lot of people out. It's the concept of double notes. So double thirds, double sixths, you do fourths, fifths. Basically, if you think of a scale in thirds, that might be between both hands. When you think of double thirds, you're just referring to the one hand doing that scale in that interval. So double third scale, double sixth scale. We're actually going to hone in on the Chopin Etude Opus 25 number 8 in sixth. And we're going to take this line. I have a student working on this. I haven't personally played this for years. I did the pro practice tutorial, so I briefly learned it a couple of years back. And then the time I had played this previously, I was probably in my teen years. So it's been a while since I played this, but we were going over this and I shared a few tips and tricks and thoughts with my student. He's playing all the Opus 25 etudes. He's working through each of them individually, and then he's going to bring the whole set for a little recital. He's doing a great job, so hats off to you, Freeman, for such a big endeavor. But I shared with him a few thoughts the other day that really loosened him up. The symptom that we were seeing is that he was getting a little tight, a little vertical, and then it felt constrained. He was still able to pull it off, but the stuff that we went over in the lesson really loosened him up a lot, and I wanted to share that with each of you today because this has been passed down to me by my brilliant teachers. I remember I was playing the Ondine passage. Man, it's been a while. That passage, okay? And my teacher at Michigan, Logan Skelton, he's like, how are you thinking about that? Because I was like, yeah, it feels a little tight. And I said I would think of this group and then shifting the hand, shift, because I could do them in those hand positions quite well. And he said, I want you to think of it slightly differently. I want you to think of rotating over one note. So rotate over the thumb to get into that next position. Rotate over the thumb to get into that position. And he and I had discussions before about how your hand can really remain loose, and it's really good at three types of rotation. We're going to talk a little bit about these today as well. Really good at turning a doorknob, really good at waving, really good at going up and down, really terrible at wagging your finger. And that's what a lot of students do when they do double notes, is they try to stretch the finger down into position, and then they lock their hand, and then they end up just kind of hammering away at the keyboard, which is a little bit about what I saw Freeman doing the other day. So how can we take it to get a lot more loose like that? Same thing as we go up that scale in sixths. So the first thing that I like to talk to students about whenever we're doing double notes is an analogy of a nail in a board. If you pound one nail into a board, you can still rotate that board around 360 degrees. But which is very similar to your wrist. Your wrist is almost a ball joint, right? It's not quite a ball joint. It doesn't go perfectly over like that, but it rotates in a lot of different directions. And one thing that you have to remember is as soon as you if you put another nail down into that board's not moving. Same thing with piano and parallel intervals. It's really hard to move when I have both fingers down, but if I let go of one, that bottom one in particular, oh man, I have so much room. Okay, now if I let go of this top one because I'm traveling down the keyboard, I can slide into that position. I'll let go of the bottom one since I'm traveling up, and so forth. And that helped him so much. So anytime that you're rocking back and forth like bar 8, you want to make sure as you're traveling up, let go of the bottom note, because this note falls in between those next two notes. That's actually not too uncomfortable. Okay, now this one, I wouldn't want to hold on to the top because that's going to make me have to rotate like that again. Instead, I can let go of the top note because this 2 falls in between that next note. Let go of the bottom note, falls in between, the 4 falls in between those. So as I travel up, I'll let go of the bottom note. As I travel down, I'll let go of the top note. Bottom note, top note, bottom note, top note. And those bottom note, top note, I'm saying which ones to release. So bottom note, top note, bottom note, top note. This is just a simple exercise to get the hand looser. The other thing that he was doing, and going back to our rotation, he was only kind of he was kind of hammering away at it here, and then he would just do a lot of the waving rotation like this. I said, I think you can open your hand up just a little bit to do a little bit of doorknob turning as well. So think of rotating on all planes. So you can move up and down, you can do this waving motion, and you can do this as well. A lot of students, when they play like Opus 10 number 1, they will do this, your thumb's way off the keyboard, and then you got to kind of thrust back in. If you just couple that I don't want you to get rid of that, but if you couple it with a little bit of that doorknob turning, look, the thumb just rotates back down to itself. And it's really nice. So that passage became immediately easier for him. Let's talk about something that's just going straight up. I've preached in my other videos that doing just a dropping exercise is very helpful to keep things aligned as a preliminary practice. But right after that, right after maybe the first time of doing that, let go of the bottom note. That's a great voicing exercise. I use that all the time for like voicing. Just staccatoing those bottom notes to bring out your melody. You don't actually have to staccato it in real time. But this is also an unlock for keeping your hand very loose when you have these very difficult like double scales to navigate. You can also do it with scales and thirds. Those are a little bit more together. So it might be a little easier for most hands to do that. But this one, I want you to just practice that by itself. Great preliminary etude. Just as a etude to work on to prepare you for this etude, or the double thirds etude is Opus 10 number 2, the chromatic etude. Terrible. Such a difficult little piece. Anyway, so you can just practice your top line. And then what I want you to do is just practice doing that doorknob rotation back down like that. What Freeman was doing is getting a little locked and just kind of hammering away. And as soon as I had him think of just that fluttering doorknob motion, he was immediately looser. So again, if you're going back and forth, choose a note to rotate around. Rotate around the one that falls in between the next interval whenever possible. If you're going up in a straight line, generally what I like to do is just do legato on the top and then practice the doorknob turning, not just a staccato, because a lot of students will just come up like this, but they're still tight. If they introduce just a little bit of turning motion like that, they immediately loosen up. So I hope those tips have been helpful. Remember, when one finger's down, the hand remains loose. When two fingers are down, the hand can't move as freely. So even if you're doing something kind of close together like the double thirds etude, you can still be it can still be beneficial to let go of those bottom notes. And certainly something more spread out like the double sixths, it's more crucial. You kind of have to do that. So I hope today's video has been helpful. This kind of debunks a scary concept. You know what? One more. I don't know this. I just thought of it, so forgive me. I'm probably going to totally botch this. But the Chopin B minor Sonata. It's been like 8 years since I played that. But I remember I did a lesson with Boris Slutsky. I'd never been able to play those parallel fourths, however that goes, loose enough. They always felt tight. He gave me the same advice of doing staccato on the bottom, but he said, do a double bounce. He's like, all that's going to do is reinforce the looseness of that bottom and get you more used to that turning as well. So that's another piece of advice you could use. Do a double bounce just to get the hand used to turning like that, and then a single bounce. And then, to be honest, when I'm in sixths, and probably even in thirds, I still do a little bit of a release. the more spread out you are, the more release I feel like you kind of need, because your hands more stretched, and you don't want to be stretched out when you're playing the piano whenever possible, because it causes tension. But I hope these concepts have helped each of you. So try the double bounce as well. Just a little side note. If any of you have any questions, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. Thanks, Freeman, for letting me use you as an example in today's video. He's doing awesome. And even just within that lesson, he immediately sounded a lot less vertical, and he said it felt a lot more comfortable as well. So good luck with all your etudes, Freeman. That's a fun project. I will leave a few links in the description below. One of them is for a free webinar containing 10 of my favorite tips, just like today's tips. These are 10 of my favorites that I use every day in my teaching and in my own practice. If you haven't checked that out, make sure to click that link below, because these are, I've thought so many times maybe I should update that webinar of my 10 tips, but I'm like, I still use all those. So I haven't updated it for years because it's still something I use every single day. So check that out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link, two links to two of my paid courses if you'd like to go even deeper than this channel goes over. And finally, I will leave a link to my gear kit, all the equipment I use to record, make podcasts, make these videos, nice microphones, lighting, all that kind of stuff if you are looking to do a bit of that yourself. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.